vitally accelerated today. Well, here we are. Those big critters get through a lot of crops. One or the other, them or that, it really hurts because they hate crops. So do you. So do I, you say. I hate crops too. Can't stand the things. I can't take it when I know there are crops there. Are they there, you say, closing your eyes? Don't tell me. They're not there, says the manager. Pipe down. What can I get you? Surprise me, says the dog. The dog has been running around in crops all day, like mad, until some sane asshole told him to stop and grow up. He has tender seedlings and random barley cultivars of an unmerchantable quality matted in his fur. How are we today, says the manager. Stroke him, if you like, says the man. He's tame. So am I, you say. I'm tame. I'm tamer than him. I don't bite. I can't remember the last time I bit. I can't remember the last thing I bit. I hate teeth. I like my teeth the way I like my crops. Anywhere but in my mouth, preferably extinct. I hate crops. Leave crops out of it, you say. I hate barley. I hate the diseases of barley, the spots, the chlorotic lesions, the widths of the zones of chlorisis, the sky, the streaks, the dots, the chlorotic halo, the infected barley stubble, the ascospores dispersed in the wind and the sleet, the fungal cycle. I hate how it gets everywhere, under your nails, skin and eyelids, barley rash, germ tubes, fractionated bubbles, Benson and Hedges, tridents like Neptunes, but of barley tridents, barley. Can I stop you there, says the man. No, you say. I don't get on with crops. I detest nurse crops. I abhor alfalfa. What about hay, says the lump of clay. Hay's all right. No, you say, hay is not all right. Hay is unspeakable. Okay, says the manager, 1 day at a time. No, you say, no days at a time. No hay, not one bale. Can I just say, said the dog, I am a stray. It made me who I am today. It never hurt me. Irrelevant, you say. I hate hay. I hate how it gets its snout in. I hate how hay is always sticking its snout in. Who else hates how hay is always sticking its snout in, you say, as if you'd meant to say it in your head, not out loud, but there was no room, or as if you'd meant to say, go away, or as if you'd meant to sing happy birthday in a doorway to a sky you hate, but couldn't out loud, and you had to go and say, who else hates hay? Who else hates how hay is always sticking its snout in? Not today, on Monday. I hate hay on Monday. Anyway, I can't stand it. I can't take any more hay. Hay out. Hay out. It's not what it looks like. I just hate hay. Fuck fodder. Leave me alone. Please, go away. It's not how it sounds. Help me. I'm not how I sound. Hate me. I hate hay. Sickening bales. Bad forage. Thin trees. Low pay. Hay time. Despicable keys. Leave me alone. Out loud. It's good for cows, says the dog. I beg your pardon, says the man. I beg your pardon. I'm just saying it's different if you're a ruminant. Ah, yes. The cow brigade, says someone you never heard of. If they're going to live here, they can at least learn to speak our language. What, cows, you say? What are you saying, says the dog. I'm dead, you bark. Not like that, says someone else. Anyway, you look fine to me. No, I'm dead. So you said, says your head, out loud, to its head, which says, to its head. Say that again. Come here and say that, to its head. When? It asks. Not now, I'm dead. No, now, says your head. Easy, it says. You're not really there, you say, either of you. You're not really in my head. Out loud, I'm not here. The echo replies, predictably, where are you? I am in the hay with my eyes. Picture me. What hay? Where? You say. And when you are there, when are you there? And are you okay? I notice you didn't ask about my eyes. That hay, there, in the light, on Monday. Yes, I'm fine. Are you alone? You say. Not really. I have my television. What day is it there? You say. Payday. It's always payday down in the hay. What can I get you, says the manager. Love, says the iguana.
Yeah.
2 poems in this book, Meditations. Number 42. To the end that, au revoir. I'm so relieved to be relieved. I'm so tired of being tired of being there. Call in the other custodians of the threshold, sensible of the exquisiteness of the new and infinitely delicate point in the texture of reality, with their buzzsaws and god prods and chunks of old brain splattered all over their crotchless PPE, and tell them to get on with punting this balloon full of offal down the gorge and onto the fossilized anti-climb spikes. I blame myself. Then I blame you. I climb the rope ladder, one rung at a time, taking care. I've got the spare thumbs taped behind my ears. So what, I hear the high trees chant. In the bark before my eyes, about halfway up the trunk, some comedian with a pickaxe has carved their initials. But the second I put my tongue in, the D, they telescope out into a whole word, like an accordion ripped apart at the bellows. The bellows are the lungs or lights of sound that draw in and send forth again our air. I lean back a bit to get the word in focus, and for an instant I consider not being alive. The word is something like I had no idea I had such a long tongue, said the Pashtar, whose ear is ever open, either until I put it in there. It's funny what you hear about yourself. I looked at the end of my own tongue, now in the lowercase d, and said I couldn't agree more. I reached out and took the end in my hand and kindly placed it back where it belonged. Watch, I said. Spatula, I said. And the word closed up again, as if it had been made to heal back into nothing but initials. I had time, but I could never figure out if I wanted it. To the end that congregated seas of vapoury shade, the end for me. What manner of tree are you, I wonder, I said, I thought. And as I picked up pace on the rope ladder, I noticed that, by gathering speed, I got wind of a rope of silk flung down from an off-black haze, or patch, speckled with primeval beige, way up in the canopy of the clinging environment, parallel to my ladder, at arm's length, though not from where I was. I wasn't sure if it was there or behind me. You can touch it if you want, said the gross and carnal mind of the shoulders with nothing on. What are you waiting for? That's not an easy question to answer, I said. Why not? Said the mind. Because, I said, if I tell you, you'll know what words I have and where I keep them, and you'll try and take my words away. That's right, said the mind. Are you okay with that? That's not an easy question to answer either, I said. I know, the mind said. I know. Can I help you with something, I said, or are you happy just looking? I'm just looking, said the mind, and added, but I'm not happy. We both looked at the floor. It wasn't there. What are you looking for? I said. The end, it said. A hospice for lactose. Hens. The heights of art. Of the rope or the ladder, I said. Then I took out and unfolded the silver oyster fork with a hinged neck that I carry up my sleeve and wrote in the air, it won't kill you to be more specific, one letter at a time, stopping after each letter for the gross and carnal mind to confirm with a nod that it had seen what letter I had made. Speak for yourself, said the mind. And in other words, I did. What was that? I was starting to wish I'd never been able to get them out. One more rung and you'll be home and dry. You'll see, I thought. I didn't think you had to know that. Never mind, said the mind. And I touched it as gently as I could, and it went flying. And then it came all the way back and said, look, if you're not going to tell me where the end is, just say so. I'm sick and tired of what you do. Can you not at the very least do the last bit of the least that you could do to keep reality on the boil until something else turns up that actually listens to me? And as if it had been of a boy or a maid singing, the other voice for once said, excuse me, but you talking about the end of my filthy life? If I had an extensible neck, I'd be there already. And burst into tears. And the tears fell into a sippy cup. And the Pashtar said, it's okay, I'll take that. You two go on without me. I was worried I might have stepped in something or said the wrong thing. Don't be, I thought. Open up, "Shut up," said the air. "I'm trying to help you." "Help me what?" I screamed. "Look, just shut up," it said. "Breathe." And in time, I did. One breath at a time, and the air burst into tears, and I felt them flow down my throat and into my lungs, where I had a kind of cistern ready, as all around the spider monkeys gnawed their aureoles and burst into tears that felt like car keys down a drain. "They have left us to it," I said, and lay my head on the shoulders with nothing on. Where the mind was. "Get off," it said. "I can't breathe." I passed around the thumbs, to the delight of everyone who was not too stuck up to admit they love me. "Get off me," gasped the mind. And so I took out the more expensive oyster fork with the unhinged neck for special occasions from its discreet sleeve of plush under the skin of my lovely wrist. And, as tenderly as I cared to know how, so as not to fuck the tree around that was falling already, and that I later learned was under anaesthetic and out of it in any case, I cut into the frantic bark with the tine that snapped off and had to be replaced, a load of words that you could never make out or do anything with, though you did know what was going on, because you could hear the scratching noise and the echo of my laughter and see the little curls of sawdust float and catch the light.
Yeah.
And finally, number 18. Okay. "Oh, world mothering air, I saw a world. I was there, and it was neither the new house nor the old house, but in my room, neither new nor old, in the hotel. My room was where it always is, when it's there. Looking back, it was there. The hotel lights must have been broken because there was a torch in my hand, where, earlier, there had been a bucket or sand. The plastic casing over the lamp filament on the end of the torch was coming loose. And though I knew, because I won't hear anything to the contrary, that whoso that thought he is woe begone, I never was tormented or consoled when I was there to think, it must be because the ceiling ring has been damaged or was missing. I tried to think, already? I only just got it. And I can only have been missing because I could see a channel or gap encircling the base of the head of the plastic casing where the ceiling ring was meant to be. It wasn't meant to be there anymore. This, at last, was the space I had been waiting for. The circle of anticipated emptiness around the base of the lamp filament of a torch where there was meant to be a ceiling ring, but was not. I thought of Hammond's line on Mary Ty, the all that severed thy life and mine, and though meant for an unfeeling butterfly, it took me back to when I felt the hand. I had been waiting for it, without knowing that I had. Knowledge can wait. It was tempting to cut the head off and stare straight at the lamp filament to see it shine brighter. I could have made it shine more bright. I could have made it shine more bright. Don't get me wrong, I made it shine bright. So bright that after staring straight at it, I would still see a light after it had been switched off. The gap where there was once meant to be a ceiling ring proved that the ceiling ring was missing. But I didn't require a description of its own, in which the specific circle of its emptiness could rest, no doubt because of my preference for the indescribable and the window. I did not cut the head off. I left it alone, thinking I wanted the gap where the ceiling ring was not meant to be anymore to stay where I could keep an eye on it, here, with me, in my room. The gap and I will not desert our posts. The gap and I will stay where we are meant to be. I knew that the torch in my hand was not switched on. I don't care how bright it was. And I knew, if I'm being honest, that for as long as it takes, it will only ever be senseless to try to stare at a lamp filament, sadistically praying for it to shine brighter. It only takes forever, and even then, in the end, I would be no closer to where I'm trying to get. The lamp that does not shine cannot shine bright. For the light to shine even brighter, it must first shine, and that means being switched on. Only then will the light shine at all, whether it likes it or not. But the torch in the world I saw, a world mothering air, was not going to shine brighter, even supposing that it could ever have been switched on. All that could have been done, but was not, was that the head could have been cut off to leave the filament completely exposed, without a glass or plastic cover, through which the light it shines must pass on its way to see the eye. The room was dark, but it wasn't that dark. It wasn't pitch black. There may not have been very much light left, but what there was did everything it could. But some of what was left must have got in. Some of what was left must have got into the room from outside, through a window that was neither blacked out nor effectively covered up, as it so easily could have been by curtains that were thick or heavy enough. The light there was a grey, scant, minimal, dead or faint. Well, not dead, but only just. It had coloured the room in grey, and the objects in the room were in grey as well, so that they could only just be made out against the background. I look at a chest of drawers. The effect was striking. I was stood at the edge of the bed. Round the left, I was feeling quizzical. I was looking for something else. I was the same size I have always been since I was small. There was a time when I was not there at all. Now I was not all there. O world mothering air. I did not know what I was meant to look for, under or at, or what I was meant to be doing. Only that I was meant to be doing something. I was pissed off. I had half a mind to pick up the phone and call the front desk to complain. But half a mind was not enough, because I did not feel like that for long enough. Because, though I tried, I could not really see what there was to complain about. Believe me, I tried. I felt like it was possible to complain, really, but that I would need more time to feel like picking up the phone and making the call before I actually could do it. And time was one thing I did not have. Time is running out. Like me, we will see who is the fastest. Something was wrong. Something else was funny. Why else would I have had the torch in my hand and not just be asleep in the middle of the night, suspended in the aspic of my darkness? I wanted whatever it was that was wrong to be sorted out. Now, yes, now, in the middle of the night. And I want whatever it was that was funny to make me laugh. Then I shone the torch on the ceiling and saw it. There, in the corner of the ceiling, above the window, a lizard, alive. My first thought was, this can only be what I had wanted to say, but had not been able to feel like saying for long enough to make me actually pick up the phone and say it. More precisely, I thought to myself that whatever I may have felt like saying before, this was what I would feel like saying now. This was my second thought, and it was the meaning of my first. I would later have a third thought, and that would be the meaning of both my second thought and my first. But the first thought would have lost some of its definition by then, because of all the meaning that had subsequently been found in it. And ultimately, the first thought would be indefinable. And then the second thought would be indefinable. And then the third, and then the whole lot, all except the last, which would mean everything. More precisely yet, I thought to myself, this will now be what I had always wanted to say, not only before I ever knew what it was that I wanted to say, but while I knew, and right when I stopped, and after, and now I will say it. This was my third thought, and I am pleased to say my most reckless, but I did not say it. It was not clear whether or not there was enough time, or whether it mattered, because of the profusion of darkness, and the weevil that made even time seem grey somehow. But in any case, it could not only be a matter of time now, but of what I felt, when I felt it, how I felt it, and what I felt it about. And instead of picking up the phone, as I once thought I could, I lay back on the bed. I don't know how long for. I was where, in the same world, but with the light on, I heard the consolation read aloud off the screen in India, then the instructions about liabilities. Not until some time after I lay back did I shine the torch again, and it was now that I saw not a single lizard, but a great torrent of lizards, dozens or hundreds of them, all running as fast as their legs would carry them from one corner of the ceiling to the other. They started in the corner near the door and ran in a diagonal torrent to the corner above the window. They ought to have been frantic, trampling all over each other like that, scrambling headlong for the cornice that was darker than the central plane of the ceiling where my torch was pointed, though no circle of light was to be seen anywhere on the ceiling, but they did not. The hectic, tumbling motion of the lizards might have seemed repellent in a different light, but then it did too in this light. But it was also fascinating and had no effect at all. I lay there for more time, wondering distractedly how much more of this can be left, and watched them all scramble for the corner, as if for cover. They must not have felt safe. And so far as it goes, my time is not misspent watching a torrent head somewhere as fast away as possible from light. And the more of it I allow to pass by, continuing to do nothing but watch, the more obvious it would seem to me what was happening. It would seem obvious that the ceiling that I had thought was a plane was not, in fact, a plane, but a depth into which it is possible to reach and even delve whenever someone might feel like sticking out an arm or a hand. This was now way more obvious than before, because I had no way of knowing it before, and had never seen anything to make me know it before I did now, for the first time. What I now saw was that not only were there dozens or hundreds of lizards scrambling in a diagonal torrent for the relative safety of the cornice, but also behind them, further away from the surface of the bed where I lay, and up beyond what I thought was the plane of the ceiling, and over them, closer to where I lay, and suspended in the air below what I had thought was the plane of the ceiling, there were other animals. Like the first lizard, the other animals were alone, and either static or else flinching infinitesimally in delectable, involuntary spasms. These were more like the kind of animals you go to a zoo for, like lions or giraffes. Their heads were spasming ambiguously, as though, in another light, they might really have been moving. One stood out above all the others. One animal was the most spellbinding of them all, and the stillest. It neither spasmed nor moved. A bison. The bison was suspended in the air, below what had appeared to be the plane of the ceiling, but what it was now obvious was only one zone of the greater ceiling reaching away. Its static hind legs were a yard or so away from the zone of the ceiling that I had thought was a plane, that zone across which the torrent of lizards was forever scrambling. The hide of the bison crackled and shimmered, not from being struck by the light of the torch in my hand, which I had not switched on anyway, but from an internal luminosity. I now knew it was meant to phosphoresce. It glowed a livid hue, not grey, really, but somewhere between grass green and burnt umber. Its stillness and its projection down into the space of my room, in combination with the unceasing torrent of agitated lizards now behind it in space, created the effect of a hologram or bas-relief, though I knew perfectly well that what I saw was not the least bit unreal. It couldn't have been less unreal if it tried, or I did. Nothing could have been so really there. The phosphorescent bison is too real, and its stillness is too real too, not only for the reason that there is no place for it here, or its stillness either anywhere else in reality where it is not welcome, but because I am headed there too, and where I go, it goes, or else I'm not going anywhere. And if I'm not going anywhere, it will not go anywhere too. And if it has nowhere to stay, it can stay with me. I will say to it, stay there, and don't go, and sit. And this is how I got to where I am, and how I would arrive at the point where I could stop, once and for all, feeling like I ought to complain, because it is obvious now, albeit without being the least bit clear, and of course without needing to be the least bit clear, that there was no use trying to feel like I ought to complain, and that there never would be any use trying if all I could hope to achieve by complaining was to get rid of the lizards, and having someone either carefully remove them from the ceiling in a Tupperware box and place them outdoors, or exterminate them, if I were not also prepared to see the bison's phosphorescent light go out and find, in place of the ceiling, a wall, and in place of the bison itself, a plaster cast or silhouette of a bison. I lay back, and one finger at a time, I let go of the torch and saw the total history play out before my eyes and sink into the new depths of the ceiling that now was as good as an underwater sky. Thanks.
Yay!